Good day, friend. Good day. Pull up a seat. Let's get ready to go. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start? Well, here's what today's goal is. To tell you what you should be aware of, what you should be looking for, and what specifically will be the reasons behind stuff. Remember, this is not left. This is not right. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I hate political parties. If I could somehow, through some wonderful, imaginative miracle, if I could somehow absent myself, remove myself from everything and anything that has to do with politics, if I could just connect ideas, I would be so much happier than this. But let us begin. First, you got to like the videos. We need your likes. There is such a science to the world of media, streaming, YouTube in particular, a science that is so fascinating, you would not believe what you are seeing. And one of the things which is the most important is I want people, my goal is simply this. Of course, breaking all viewer records in order to prove my point. And my point is very simple. Americans and citizens around the world are a part of a common sense belief system. And if you talk to them like adults and speak with them like adults, you will be so incredibly impressed with how common, how uniform, how rational so many of these people are. You cannot believe that what happens is when you zero in, as many do, in what you believe to be the mindset of the company, of the world, you're missing the point. People are very common sense oriented. Very, very, very common sense oriented. Of three, I think close friends of mine, 3 friends of mine who are gay, they're all conservative, or what you would call conservative. Again, I use these terms sometimes. I break my own rule. I use a term just for purposes of shortcuts, just shorthand speak. Conservative now has become common sense. Anybody who's just common sense is called conservative. The radical left, the woke left, doesn't exist in the real world. They exist theoretically in headlines. You know these wild John Waters dystopian, scary cross-dresser types? They don't exist except in this. They don't exist in the real world. They don't exist except for headlines. They don't exist. They're not even. By the way, last night I saw, it was so funny, on a YouTube piece that there was do you remember when Archie Bunker had the cross-dresser? They called him then. It was a man. Very interesting. Some of the issues but it was more respectfully done then. So, what I'm trying to tell you is, people, honestly, are rational. Now, let's talk about rational people. AOC is the dutiful, desperate, on deck Democrat for the future of radical left woke politics. She is it. They are grooming her to be what Marjorie Taylor Greene could have been in the right, because the right is the worst. The right could learn, and again, I'm using terms right and left. I'm using these terms. The left is cohesive. They are specific. They are very, very organized in their message. They're very smart. And they take AOC, and she's their darling. Wait till you hear. Don't be surprised if eventually you hear some fascinating gossip that comes up later on about her own personal life. Nothing illegal, and really not about her, but her people are in her orbit. And it won't matter. It won't matter. But like is the case. Like is the case. When people find themselves not focusing around those people around them and too focusing on thinking they're some kind of a star, they lose track of their life. That's all I'm going to say. Just keep an eye on that one. But we're going to be watching this, and it's very, very, very interesting to see where this is going. She is the heir apparent to Chuck Schumer. She's going to be the next senator of, and Kirsten Gillibrand. I don't know when she's a waste of flesh. Is Gillibrand even invited? Do you ever hear her? Is she ever? She's not even mentioned. Where's Cory Booker? Do you ever hear from him? Every now and then I'll see an email. Oh, Cory Booker. John Fetterman I hear more from. Where's Dr. Oz now? You see these people, they come and they go, they come in, they come out. It's like those old things. Whatever happened to the cast of MASH? Whatever happened to, that kind of thing. Where did they go? Whatever happened to them? Now, what I want you to notice is this. First and foremost, the Democratic Party has nothing to do with the woke party. The woke party, it's hard to, I don't want to use a German reference because this particular medium does not care for this, but there are levels of things. There is the titular. I'll give you an example. During the time of Hoffa, there were the Teamsters, rank and file, local number such and such, Jimmy Hoffa, was the next level, but truckers, the usual. This is labor, front and center, local 141, Teamsters, yay, okay. Above that was the organizational, the administrative. Above that was, then we get into this kind of like the Hoffa group. And then above that was the mob, who basically had their digs into the pension funds, and from Fitzsimmons to all these folks. So there are different levels. What you see up front is that front line. For example, the FBI, front line, good people. Tucker Carlson, and there's this other theme, the feds. The feds. The feds. Years ago, there was a fellow who was here in the New York area, purported to be of a certain organized crime organization. A certain one. And he said that in the early days, there might have been 2, maybe 3 FBI agents in the entire, FBI was not even exist. They did, bank robberies and things like that, but they really weren't, they really weren't into this, whatever it was. So it was a different world then. And that really changed. It's like, oh, wow. He goes, yeah, it was open season. And then later on it changed. And then with, Hoover and then, anyway. So recognize who's really in charge. We say these things. The Democratic Party has been hijacked, is owned by, and I can't say this enough, a group of people who have plans and ideas that you may only hope to guess. You might think, well, it's about global. Okay. It's about the Great Reset. Okay. When in doubt, sometimes people, as minor birds, kind of repeat themselves repeatedly to the point of almost sounding mindless. But there's a certain degree of truth to it. Reset. The reptilian theory is making a wonderful comeback. The reptilians. Remember the woman in the plane the other day? She was talking about a man with a hoodie who was a reptilian. Remember that one? You're going to be hearing more and more about reptilians. The reptilian people, the reptilians, it's very interesting. David Icke and others have always... I don't know the first thing about it, but you're hearing more and more of that. You're hearing more Bilderberg every now and then, corporate this, globalists here. CFR we used to talk about. Trilateral Commission they used to talk about. Used to call it Club of Rome years ago. UN, World Health Organization. The administrative realm. The deep state, permanent Washington. There's a million names for this. Just like in the old days, they had criminals, the rackets. There are all these terms. But no matter what you call these people, they are really calling the shots ultimately for the superstructure of the Democratic Party. They create not only, listen to me carefully, not only the political agenda, but the social agenda. Why are movies like Barbie? Why is there this movement? Why? Why is there this lockstep movement all of a sudden? Why did Ben and Jerry's, why did the folks who take over Ben and Jerry's realize we're going to lose money? Bud Light is just now famous for just going deeper and deeper. That's not the Democratic Party. That's not Joe Biden. That's this movement. Look how everybody now is coming after Jim Caviezel and Sound of Freedom. It's one article that's just repeated. One article. Same thing. Like that. See how this works? That's not about Democrats. That's not about Joe Biden, or it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. No. Doesn't work like that at all. It's more complicated. It's more interesting. It's more fascinating. Do you see what I'm saying? You've got to sit back and look at how this thing works. Look at this. Now, stop for a minute and now look to what we loosely call our side. What is our side? Disorganized, confused. Fox News, which used to be kind of where you went to, now issuing retractions. They are so anti-Trump, not even funny. Steve Doocy has now become the hatchet man for the prototypical left. You see how that works? The arguments now are incredible. They work in lockstep. Confounding. Let me give you another one. All of these topics I'm going to be talking and following on my private channel, where I can go into real depth. Also in other channels. Let me give you an example. This is the best story I heard. And it's not the best, it's a tragic story. But to show you how desperate they are, and how, remember, the media control everything. The media, this is what gets it out. The regular mainstream media, but they don't understand that our media, what we do is even bigger. But they actually said, somebody said that Bobby Kennedy Jr. is trying to give autism a bad name. I'm paraphrasing, but that it's a bad thing. They're actually saying that. They're actually saying this. RFK. This is where you this is from Salon. RFK says he advocates for the this is from June 30th. RFK's anti-vax views also reinforce damaging autism stereotypes. There was one from MSNBC that says RFK claims, here we go. This is from an MSNBC columnist. I can't be the only person who rolled his eyes when Democratic Robert F. Kennedy, who has helped push the lie that autism is something new and something human beings have caused. Okay. Said during his presidential campaign announcement this spring that he's, quote, been around at the spear tip of people with intellectual disabilities his whole life. Listen to this, quote, but it's disingenuous, this is from this article, but it's disingenuous for the anti-vaccine activist to claim association with his family's legacy when the crux of his baseless claim that vaccines cause autism is the ugly message that being autistic is bad. I don't think that's what he's saying. And I don't think he needs me to do this, but I don't think he's saying that this is bad, or that autism is bad, or autistic people are bad. I don't think he's saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this one. Lazy Lionel's Cafe and Bake Shop. At home coffee isn't cutting it. At home coffee ain't cutting it. Lazy Lionel's Cafe and Bake Shop has you covered. We offer a high-quality coffee as well as an assortment of bagels and donuts that will get you through the morning. Lazy Lionel, simply the best. Thank you so much. Did you see these great pictures? Do you see this? No. You must see this. These sponsors that we have. Thank you so very much. It's absolutely genius. Now let me stop right there. Who in their right mind could ever say, but autism is bad? It is bad. It's terrible. It's awful. Not autistic people, not people with spectrum disorders, but autism is bad. We want to stop autism. We don't want autism. What? Especially somebody whose child is. Only in an orchestrated media can we even see this as being possible. Only as in an orchestrated media. Let me go back a little bit. Let's assume that I am a racist social commentator. And let's say I'm somebody who was similar to what Ed Sullivan or Dick Clark was. I'm not saying they're racist. But let's say that with the advent of R&B, blues, and then Motown, and don't forget the Philadelphia sound. The Philadelphia sound is a whole other story too. Remember OJ's and MFSB and all of those great... anyway. So let's say that I put the word out. I want all of my Rolling Stone writers, Variety, Board, Downbeat, everybody to write Billboard, to write about the overwhelming lack of popularity of black music, the singular unsophisticated nature of black music, how nobody cares about black music, how nobody likes black music, how nobody... And let me just start sending that out. Let me fudge some. The numbers are the numbers are down. The numbers are whatever. People are, and I just put this word out through my media, where everybody hates Motown. Everybody, and it's not true. Or I say everybody thinks it, and it's not true. And they claim that, this Caviezel, this Sound of Freedom, this is some crazy, conspiracy theory. What if I were to say that reparations is part of a BLM nonsense about people who are overstating the effect of slavery? What? What if I, and that's the word. Everywhere, well, here we go again, another BLM, slavery distortion, historical revision. You don't think I could have a bit of a say in that? And many would suggest that's exactly what happened before. But don't you see how the media work on this? Everywhere you turn around, everywhere. Roots. When Roots came out. Remember Alvin Haley? Or not Alvin Haley. What was his name? Haley? Alex Haley. Remember that? Roots and this and that. What if I said, here we go, another distorted view of racism, and This is where we're going right now. Sparky says, autism is now a fashionable euphemism for nerd. True autism, the person in old movies banging their head against the wall in the insane asylum. Autism's a severe disability. Fake autism's a grift. Well, let me explain something. I remember, and by the way, thank you, Sparky, and Lazy Lionels. Don't you love that? Now, when I was in high school, we read something called, it was about, first time I ever read about anything about autism was called Dementia Praecox. Praecox, Praecox. It comes from the Latin meaning pre-cooked. It's where the word precocious comes from. They thought it was a form of schizophrenia. And it's a fascinating subject. And they have been suggesting, people like Bobby Kennedy and others, that thimerosal was responsible. And I'm not an expert in this at all, but the word is that it was a part of it was thimerosal. It was this mercury kind of adjuvant. They would have in the old days, one bottle for all of your. They thought, let's put all the shots together in one bottle, so you don't have to stick the kid a million times. That kind of makes sense. So they had one bottle, and you would depress the injector, and then in that, because you were using multiple jabs, in order to keep the batch good, I think they would. The accusation was thimerosal, which is a mercury-based adjuvant or additive, was used to whatever it was, blah 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 blah. And then later on, they broke them up into different bottles, and then whatever, and then they pointed through all this stuff, and there's a lot of things: peanut allergies, tree nut allergy. Schizophrenia, mental illness, cancer, so whatever it was. So anyway, here comes Bobby Kennedy. Now, the last time I checked, he can say anything he wants. And if he's wrong, correct him. You know how many people I have to listen to talk about diet? Oh, butter's good for you. Look at the French. And they quote this French study that doesn't exist. The French paradox. But they eat butter. No, they don't eat like you think they do. No, they don't. They don't. Finn Gazinia. I suppose this time I paid something. Yes, indeed, Finn. It's that kind of encouraged exuberance. Thank you, Finn. Thank you. Thank you. Remember when people would talk about the Mediterranean diet? How many times have you heard that? And I hear this all the time. And I don't think people should be shut down. People say, well, that's different. Well, I don't think so. I think obesity is a pretty serious problem. How many times? Just give me a time out on this. This is one of my favorite subjects. Experts say, well, the Mediterranean diet, olive oil, wine. Hold it. Stop. I do this a million times. How many countries border the Mediterranean? It's like 22 countries. I don't know which. Something like that. Which country are you talking about? Israel? Italy? What? What are you talking about? And they say Mediterranean. Like I've had a friend of mine who thinks she's real fancy. She says, well, I'm very European. Ukrainian? Belarusian? What? No. Well, you said European, right? Well, yeah, but I didn't mean France. Well, why didn't you say so? Because people don't know what they're talking about. So anyway, the Mediterranean diet came along. And they said, well, I eat a little bit of meat. You don't eat a little bit of meat. You eat a lot of meat. Well, okay, but it's chicken. That chicken doesn't matter. Chicken is... Anyway, again, it's a free country. You can see whatever you want. But let me finish through this. They have this idea that they said that maybe somehow it's Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet came in 1953 or so from Ansel Keys. Ansel Keys looked at one particular place. One. It was Isle of Crete. And it was right after World War II, after the German occupation. And they had access to nothing at the time. No livestock, no meat, no cattle, no this. No. They ate fruits and nuts and berries and greens, and they walked, and they were a really healthy society because they had no meat. It was post World War II. Today, it's a different story. In 1958, I got to tell you this. I got to tell you this. This just kills me. In 1958, oh, here we go. Listen to this. This is so good. This is Caldwell Esselstyn. Just give me a timeout, because whenever I can do something to maybe change your life and help you, I want to do it, because I want you to live forever, or live better. In 1958, Japan had only 18, let me say that again, 18 autopsy-proved deaths caused by prostate cancer. That same year, there were 14,000 recorded deaths by prostate cancer in the U.S., which has a population twice that of Japan's, and today is about 35,000, whatever it was. 18 in 1958. What do you think today is after the advent of the Western diet? I don't know the exact numbers, but it's not 18. In 1978, breast cancer was much lower in Kenya than it was in the United States. 82 times lower breast cancer in Kenya. Why do you think that was? In the early 1970s, the risk of heart disease in rural China was 12 times lower than the U.S. And it was rarely encountered at all in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. The Western diet completely changed everything. Okay, make a long story short. So, what happened was, they took this thing called the Mediterranean diet. And it had nothing to do with what you're saying, nothing, but they just took it on. And people just believe this stuff. They said, well, it has olives. Olives? Where does olives come from? Where is this olive? Olives are okay, but they're very salty, very briny. And if you want to eat an olive, eat an olive. And olive oil is like, I don't know, a teaspoon of olive oil is how many olives you have to make? I mean, it's insanity. But the point is, it's a free country. You can say whatever you want. But Bobby Kennedy can't. Bobby Kennedy can't. Sparky says, people with real autism don't say they're autistic. Temple Grandin is the exception that proves the rule. Rain Man movie opened up the grift floodgates before 99% of doctors hadn't heard of it. Your opinion, thank you so much, sir. There was a woman who, by the way, remember she was autistic. A lot of people say, the word Asperger's. Listen to this one. Asperger's was another word that people started to like. I noticed this. When what was it, DSM-5 or DSM, whatever it was, it came out, they took Asperger's and they wanted to put Asperger's and change it to spectrum disorder. The Asperger's people went crazy. They said, that's our word. You can't do that. That's our term. Like, what do you mean that's your term? No, that's our. They loved the term. It was their own. They said, sorry, we're going to change it so you don't hear Asperger's anymore. The one that blew me away, it was a while back. I don't remember the context. Please bear with me. It was a woman. No, it was a doctor who said, if we play our cards right, we will be able to stop all trisomy 21 Down syndrome. Used to be called Mongolism. Remember that one? Trisomy 21. Because with genetic treatment, genetic therapy, genetic this, we can eliminate Down syndrome. You just never see it again. Now, how many think not having Down syndrome is a good thing? How many think that that it is a form of what used to be called retardation, and we're always changing, and we love to tone down, dampen, tone down the words. We love to, well, that's not, this slow down, I don't know if that makes it, okay, fine. Now the issue then is, and this is critical, the issue becomes, what do you think? Do you think do you think that having less people, not depopulation, not euthanasia, not eliminating these people, no, new cases, and the Downs crowd went, this one I saw, went crazy. This is our son. We love him. I didn't say you didn't. But if you look at the health problems associated with it, they want to prevent it. Not, this is where we are today. But the bottom line is simply this. The message went out on high. Get the sound of freedom. Get Caviezel. And Mel Gibson is Mel Gibson has nothing to do with this. He's just supporting it. Get Mel Gibson. Why? Christian, Catholic, right wing. We don't want this. Hit them with this, and this. Here are your marching orders. Now go. And immediately, boom. The articles came out. I cannot believe in lockstep how they are. Next, go after Bobby Kennedy. And call him dangerous. Call him this. And the thing is, we are not going to let up on this. We do not want to have any kind of discussion on this, period, unless you repeat the official narrative. We want to teach him a lesson. And we've got to show that even Bobby Kennedy is not going to make headway. Well, guess what? This is a different story. This changed everything. And Bobby Kennedy doing something which is completely different. Number one, he doesn't care. He's Bobby Kennedy. He just... Somebody else could do the same thing. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know what it is with him. I don't know. I don't understand it. I am so unimpressed with the Kennedys. How about, you see that Jack Schlossberg? I read the story. I don't even know what the hell the story is. He doesn't like restaurants, restaurant. Who cares? What is this? I don't understand. The Kennedys, anything even remotely looking like royalty to me is antithetical to not only, by the way, years ago I had a friend of mine. I love the story. And as Mrs. L and I have been telling you, you do know that Harry is going to go back to the UK, go back to the family. He's going to be embraced, and Meghan Markle's on her own. On her own. Okay, watch, just watch. We've known this forever, and now it's starting to come out, okay? Just like it's coming out that the Atlantic and others are finally telling Joe, all right, Joe, you got to go. You got to go now. Because they've been given. Remember, these people, all of the media, they're hanging on by a thread. They're closing down National Geographic. Wow. They're closing down this one. Oh, my God. CNN. They're almost done. Look at it. Yeah, they're down to, I think they had like their last 100 people. National Geographic. Yeah. That was one of the most. Disney cuts, guts, and destroys National Geographic, laying off employees. National Geographic cuts last of its staff, writers, and I mean, it's just, it's everything. So what they are saying is simply this. If you want to be, oh, look at this, Bed Bath & Beyond, final weeks. Look what happened to them. You do know you're in the middle of a complete and total reset. But in any event, so they are said, you're going to do this. Only in America can people take human trafficking. Let me say this again. Let me say this again. Only in America can somebody at some level turn to these soon-to-be shuttered and furloughed news organizations to say, I want you to trash a movie that warns the world about the human trafficking of children. What? Yes. Okay. Here's what you're going to say. All right. You will never get the truth of that movie. The number of people who go, the number of people who were filled. Let me explain something to you. And if you don't realize this, and I am somebody not of faith, I am not a Caviezel Catholic or anything like that, but I am an observer. And I know what's going on. There is a movement in the world right now, in the world that wants goodness, and honor, and you may not refer to it as biblical, but people who actually want to help and rescue. That's why the notion of the Navy SEALs and the military. Why? Why was that? What happened? All of a sudden, even with Tom Cruise, they said, whoa, 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 wait a minute, this is not good. So what happens? They told Millie, okay, Millie, crank it up. We don't like this. Why? Because we're going too negative. We're going too positive with this good guys, John Wayne, America, help. Unless it's Ukraine, but even that's unless it's cluster bombs, but it's very complicated. So what happened after that? Millie gets the message. Okay, he gets the memo. Okay, I'm about to retire. I'll do whatever you want. I don't care. And they say, now we're going to have drag queens at camps and all kinds of stuff. Do you see what's happening? They follow orders like you can't believe. Sparky says, likely autism is caused by two particular people having children, and some of their kids get a double whammy of particular. Any rise of true autism is due to people falling in love at sci-fi conventions. You know what? Thank you for that most interesting and clever take on this. And I give you that. But let me just say something, and I'm very careful about this. There are some things I know a lot about, and I've really spent a lot of time, not only as a reasonably sentient human being, but as an adult and a professional, whatever it is. And I will tell you, there are some things I know a lot about. I know nothing about spectrum disorders. I know nothing about autism. All I know is I see things that are observational, and I welcome anyone. And let me make sure I say this carefully. If you have any insight into anything, cancer, suicide rates, good things, working out, raising a healthy kid, the importance of playtime, I value your opinion. Let me also make sure we understand this. In the event that you are wrong, in the event that you are misguided, in the event that you are just deranged in your opinion, I'll get over it. It won't be the first time. But please, weigh in. That's all I want people to do. Weigh in. I might say, I've got friends of mine who are into this stuff. I've got one in particular. Everything to her is a spiritual connection. You name it. Her computer, dogs, animals, everything is some Shirley MacLaine, whatever it is. You know what? That's her opinion. Good for her. I don't disagree with it. Maybe I don't understand it. I've heard people talk about cancer, and you will hear this, well, it's sugar. Have you heard the seed oil thing? I've heard people talk about coffee enemas and juicing to get rid of cancer. Now, I think that is a death sentence if you've got cancer. It might help to prevent, I guess. But if you've got some stage 3, some neoplasm, some chronic lymphocytic leukemia, and you want to forego medical treatment for coffee enemas, that's dangerous. And if you go out and tell people that will save lives, that's real dangerous. But even that, you should not be prevented from saying. You should be clarified. Sparky says the peculiarity of the parents doesn't necessarily need to manifest itself in obvious ways. Peculiar, not peculiar. Studied autism for 59 years now. You bring something up, Sparky. Let me bring this to a point. And let's start. And this is you've inspired me. And I'm going to change the subject just a little bit. I want you to imagine this is called the ambit, the ken, the range, the frequency, the horizon, the whatever it is. This is it. And you can pick it. You can pick whatever you want. Pick whatever you want. What do you want to call the thing? Strange, peculiar? When is somebody's behavior so strange and peculiar it hits the autism? I don't know. I do believe that under current, from what I've read about it and heard about it, there are current criteria that are used for a diagnosis by professionals, of which I am not, that deal with everything from attention and focus and interaction and eye contact and all of this other kind of stuff. That may or may not. Now, you might say, there are certain things that are obvious. Pregnancy and death are pretty much, there is no such thing as a little bit pregnant, a little bit, near death. I like that. Near pregnancy. I know people who don't make eye contact, people who are strange, people who are withdrawn, people who are people, and they are not autistic or are not on the spectrum and have not been diagnosed as such. So I don't know anything about that. When you tend to get anecdotal, when you're observational, and this is important, observational, sometimes, well, let me give you an example. I have a friend of mine who says, well, I'm psychic. Have you ever met somebody who said, I'm psychic, who's psychic? No. I don't even know what that means. Well, I'm psychic. Really? Why are you saying, well, I'm psychic? You're psychic. Okay. There are these things. And what they'll do is they will see something. And they'll say, you know what? I thought this. I planned this. I dreamt this. I imagined this. You know what? I'm psychic. What? I'm psychic. You're psychic? Yes. And you know what? I like the sound of that. Yeah. I'm psychic. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say it again. I'm psychic. Yeah, you know what? I've just added this to my descriptive. Yes, I'm psychic. How do you like that? I'm a psychic person. Well, how are you psychic? I don't know. I'm psychic. I just am. And I've noticed things, and I've picked up on things. And I am the absolute worst for anybody when I say, okay, I think we've got a connection here. I think we've got a connection. I think we've got something. I think that in your particular case, this observation, yes, I think we can make a diagnosis. I probably would be the worst doctor ever, with the exception of death and pregnancy. I say, I'm not really sure about that. I'm not sure. One of my favorite subjects is schizophrenia. And that takes a very, 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 you need a professional for that one as well. But it's one of those ones where you kind of know it when you see it, so to speak, and then there are people who get around with it. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say in this matter is, please be very, very careful in that listening to people, listen to everybody you want. I have a friend of mine who overnight is an expert in vaccines. Overnight. I don't know. Sparky says peculiar. You said particular from an earlier post. Peculiar parents. No, not particular. Yeah. As you know, peculiar and particular are two different. I might have misspoken. Peculiar. Let me stop right there. What does peculiar mean? Were your parents peculiar? Yes. Are you peculiar? Yes. Invariably, I will find you peculiar. Absolutely. Am I peculiar? Oh, yes. What does that mean? Whatever you want it to mean. Whatever you want it to mean. Be careful with the anecdotal. Be careful with the observational. Be careful with things. Be careful with you looking at something and noticing something and saying, you know what, I think I'm going to make a diagnosis on this one. I think so. You hear it all the time. Why is a black family crime? Well, you say, excuse me, what data do you? Well, I don't have any data. Well, you're about to opine about the black family and the crime rate, and you don't. Well, So you're just kind of giving me like a feel you have? Yeah, okay. That's most of the time. That's what we do. We have sort of a feel. Kind of a you know what I mean? Don't really know. Certain things, like, I don't really know about that. But either way, I'm off of where I was before. There is a concerted effort on the part of the left, and they march in lockstep. On the right, there is nothing. There is no organization. Ron DeSantis is falling apart. They are pushing Trump. They love to push Trump. The left sees Trump as easier to defeat than the right. That's why Fox News had to retract something. Marjorie Taylor Greene, out of her tree, calling Boebert, you little bitch, on the floor of the... I mean, you know, just this. Matt Gaetz and even Swalwell, they don't say anything about him, the Democrats. Nothing. Nobody goes after the... What about Ilhan Omar? Haven't heard from her. Quiet. Nobody says anything. Any ragging on Jeffries or Steny Hoyer? Never. They march in lockstep. Lockstep. But when you have Republican, well, you have what used to be, I think Breitbart is now more of the hardcore zealotry. And then you have people like Fox, who is just this, whatever it was. Now you've got the Tucker Carlson Apologia Tour. He's over here and he says, you know, I was told that they had all kinds of feds at the January 6th thing. Well, imagine that. Imagine that. Wow. Now does that surprise you? No. Look who these people are coming up. Russell Brand. What is Russell Brand? What is he? What is he? What do you call that? He's more of my... He is of the common sense. He's not the conservative. That's the guy to look for. Russell Brand. I was listening to something very interesting. Tim Pool. Very interesting. What you would call right-wing, sort of. These names don't mean anything. I saw a special the other night on Wham. What would you call Wham? Rock? Jethro Tull and Wham? Well, no, wait. You understand this? Sparky says, back in the 80s, a guy in my platoon went to sleep sane and woke up with paranoid schizophrenia. Scary, because there was no warning. Usually happens between the ages of 18 to 24. That is correct, Sparky. Thank you very much. You know, it's interesting that you say that. 18 to 24. Schizophrenia, classic case. Kids at college. Girl or son is at college. They get a call from, parents get a call from either the roommate or campus police. There is a wonderful, there is a wonderful, let's see. There is I want you to read this one. Ellen Sachs. S-A-K-S. S-A-K-S. Ellen, E-L-Y-N. Don't you love people who spell it? Would you just spell it the right name? Just Diane Carroll. D-I-A-H-A-N-N C-A-R-R-O-L-L. Would you just, Bob Smith. Anyway. Ellen Sachs. S-A-K-S. She went to Yale and she's a professor. Let her describe to you. She's quote lucky, and that perhaps maybe her version of schizophrenia was less. But Ellen Sachs, E-L-Y-N-S-A-K-S. That's her name. Listen to her. She was She was on with Eric. Remember the Brain series with Charlie Rose, Eric Bryndell. She talked about what it was. She was, all of a sudden, the trees are talking to her. And she ended up on top of the roof of some class, and they called her, and her parents came, and she was it's just a total dysfunction. Her hygiene was horrible. Anyway, she's on her medication, she had therapy, she married somebody, she's doing much better, and she's the advocate. She's very acclaimed, super smart, and it is one of the most fascinating subjects ever. And if you're interested in that, because, by the way, you might say, well, why are you interested in this? You don't know what normal is unless you know what abnormal is. There are parts of me, and I'm not suggesting I'm on the spectrum, whatever that means. I could be. I don't even know what the spectrum is. I absolutely hate beyond anything to be at a party, at a restaurant, where everybody's talking loud. We went to a restaurant, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. It was on a Sunday or something. It was for a friend's birthday on Long Island. And I turned to Mrs. Allen and say, I'm going to have to get out of here. I was going crazy. I heard every conversation at once. Of course, I was exceedingly bored when I was talking to here. But there were two women, young in particular, who were sitting across from each other, screaming at each other. Not mad, just normal voices. It goes back to when I was a kid. I had relatives who yelled. And I would always, and I remember the time saying, why are you yelling? Yelling to me is very, just be quiet. Be quiet. I thought to myself, this is incredible. And then the volume made the volume go up. And then my particular frequency of voice, if it's at a certain level, you can't hear me, and I'm not going to yell. And I realize I'm not going to talk to you because I'm not going to yell. My voice, my frequency, will only work if it's quiet. That's why in concerts that you don't understand what I'm saying. It just doesn't work. Now, I have always known that there is a certain degree of, I don't know what the word is, but I do not. It's not people near me. That doesn't bother me at all. I don't care about that. It's the noise. Everybody is yelling and talking at the same time. Now, what does that mean? I don't know what that is. But when I heard somebody say that one time, I said, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. There's something about that. Now, that has not necessarily been a problem in my life. It's never caused a problem. I just, at my age, I say, I don't want to be around this anymore. I don't like loud. Now, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. When you spend any amount of time, and that's why, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to spend 1 hour, you will see, please look at what's available on YouTube. Don't just see some video that somebody did. Look at what... Did you see this latest ad? Look at this newest ad, honey. There we go. Look at this one. First of all, Sparky says the spectrum is a grift. Send people with that diagnosis to charm school instead of making it an identity. A little bit. I respectfully disagree. We can argue as to what that is. Yes, some people indeed grift and change everything. Again, that is not my particular expertise, but Sparky, your opinion is always welcome. Look at this, Elegant Lynn's Bed and Breakfast. Elegant Lynn's Bed and Breakfast, a high-end bed and breakfast that includes a high-quality breakfast with a beautiful view of the Atlantic Ocean. Elegant Lynn's make us your second home. Isn't that great?
However, proceeds go to the warriors to protect our children.
Now, unless that's a conspiracy theory, which I, of course, did not know anything about. There is a conspiracy. You are right about that. There are evil people who are conspiring to wholesale and traffic in anything that is marketable. And I promise you, if tomorrow, somehow, through some way, older people posed a some benefit by virtue of their teeth or their skin cells or whatever, you would see trafficking in old people. And they wouldn't be gerontophiles, chronophiles. It would be, oh, you want old people? We got them. Oh, you want endangered species? You got them. Oh, you want shark fins? You got them. Oh, you want this? You got them. Oh, do you have that? Okay. Oh, you I want to go back to one more thing, which is interesting. When you see a little kid, when you watch a little kid, and that little kid looks you in the eye and understands humor and is playful and is loving and is sweet and loves mommy and daddy and has a doll, interacts with people, shares, recognizes, I'm here, you're here, I want to share, I want to give this thing to you. I want to give, look at this, I want to give you, by the way, let me just say something right now. Floss. You know the connection between flossing and heart disease, right? You know this. It's this thing where you take the thing and you wrap it on your thing, you're going like that. It's stupid. This is the easiest thing. Have them next to your bed. When you watch your TV, just go like that. Floss it's about heart inflammation, bacteria. Do yourself a favor. I've got these things and I'm a flosser like you can't believe. In any event, when you see this, when you see a child, we have two cases. One in particular, this is my favorite. One is the classic spoiled child with the tantrum. This is where I'm saying, please let me do this. One time I don't know when, I or my sibling, my father had a very interesting thing. Absolutely no hitting anybody. And it was one of these things where when you got this discussion, and maybe we were lucky because we were rational. He says, oh, you want to yell? Okay, here. Come here. This is your room. Don't turn the TV on. You yell all you want. Knock yourself out. I don't hear you. I don't hear you yelling. Yell. You want to yell, don't you? You want to make a scene. You want to cry. Oh, go ahead. Please. And it made you think, like, why did I do this? Why did I do it? That's the thing. That's a behavioral thing. That's interesting, too. And that's just spoiled and all that. But that also might be a precursor to a little bit of a weird kind of... Because there are some folks some kids who I think are like future serial killers. But I digress. When you see a child who is perfectly able to do this, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And by the way, how do you handle politics around your kids? How do you handle politics? There's one thing I want to talk to you about, and this is very important. Do not tell your kids what is and isn't right. Do not say, Trump is good, Biden is bad. Don't do this. Don't. I have a hard enough time with, and people get very upset with me, I have a hard enough time with people who tell kids about God. I know that I know that's a problem. I know people, what's wrong with that? That's a touchy thing. That's me. It's your family, your life. Be careful how you do that. That's all. Now, we started off in this wonderful journey, and I brought it to your attention, that AOC was on board. She was given the direction. You're going to come on and you're going to support Joe. Okay, I got it. Play your cards right. Okay, AOC, I'm going to do it. There's no way AOC and her cool friends think. There's no way that Sandy thinks that Joe Biden is whatever it is. It ain't gonna happen. You know it. I know it. We all know it. You understand that? Ain't gonna happen. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's yelling at Boebert. You've got them all, they're all upset. And the Freedom Coalition kicked her out because she's saying stuff about McCarthy. I mean, this is where we are right now. Spoiled brats. Carrie Lake. Do you see what they're doing to Giuliani? The Republicans are a mess. They're a mess. DeSantis, and he's bringing out Casey, his wife. She wants to be the star. Did you see that one? She wants.
Something not relatable to her.
And you're right, Mrs. Ellis, there's something not relatable.
Yes to that evangelical kind of ultra-conservative, but not to the everyday woman of color.
Yes, right. She works for the evangelical, I don't want to say white, but, and I hate when people use the word white, but let me tell you something. I will tell you something, and I can promise you something, and I know this, and you either understand what I'm saying or you don't. I can get along with anybody. And if I don't like you, I'm not rude, I just, you don't see me. But believe me, when I tell you this, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care what color you are, what gender you are. I don't care. I know exactly, especially if I like you. I promise you, we will get along just fine. I know other people who can't do it. And they don't mean any harm. They actually don't mean anything one way or the other. They just can't convey that thought. They cannot convey that. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. I know people come across, they're just cold and they don't mean it. There's no hard feelings. When it comes to politics, there's something that's important. Donald Trump had something. You can talk whatever you want about him. I don't care what it is. He came out and they loved him. His fans did. And believe it or not, the ones who hated him the most loved to hate him. Because if there's one thing professional wrestling taught me, people love the heel more than the babyface. Sparky says, despite not agreeing that preservatives in vaccines cause autism, I do think that the number of vaccines given to kids has gotten way out of hand. Well, I don't know whether anybody has said that preservatives cause anything. I don't know. Again, this is very, well, you can say, oh, thimerosal, I don't know what that said. Was it linked to cause? I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to be cheeky. I have no earthly idea. Here's one for you. Let me give you an example of something. Sparky, I'm bringing you up. I'm going to give you two examples of something. And two things. And please listen to me carefully. And thank you, by the way. Please, are you liking this? Are you liking this one? You got to like this one. I've got 100 and I need 300 likes. I'm going to give you two stories and tell you the way that they look. Number one. People, and you will say this, people believe that SSRIs are linked to suicide, murder. They're always linked to mass murder. That whenever there's a shooting, I wonder if he was on his SSRIs. Right? They all say that. Yeah. The SSRIs. Okay. You know, the SSRIs. Yeah. Okay. They all say that. Okay, fine. And people will believe that. They'll think that either being on SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, Prozac and all that either causes murder-suicide or coming off of it causes it. Now, this is the way people think. Except there's one flaw in that idea. Who are the people who tend to be on SSRIs? People who have a psychiatric or neurological or emotional or whatever, behavioral problem. So you're starting with a group of people who already have something. So that changes things. You're not talking about, quote, normal people who go on these and say, I don't know why I'm on SSRIs, but you know what? I feel like taking a school. It doesn't work like that. Interesting. So they're missing the fact that the most important thing about this group is that why were they taking this? Who prescribed it in the first place? They must have been exhibiting something underlying. All right. The second one, and this is the most important. People who have one glass of wine a day. You notice that in this island off of Greece, people live to be 102. And all of them, they say, what is your secret? And they go, I love to dance. Yeah, okay, right. Yeah, okay. All right. And I have one glass of wine a day. Aha. Wine, this is back to that Mediterranean thing. Wine is linked to whatever you want to call it, right? This is the wine is linked to longevity. Why? Well, because these people have moderate wine. Until somebody said, can we look at people who don't drink any wine? They do even better. There is no amount of alcohol. Listen to this. There is no amount of alcohol that has been considered beneficial. Just like good fat doesn't exist. There is no amount of alcohol where you say, this guy's not drinking any alcohol. See, if something's beneficial, people who don't do it, like water is very beneficial. And if you don't drink water, you got a problem. Whereas if somebody says, he's not getting any fat. Well, there are people with eating disorders and people who are starved to death. That's a different story. So the idea is that, let's look at people who don't drink at all. They did even better. So because people wanted very much, they wanted more than anything else to see a positive connection. They read into this as to say, have a glass of wine a day and you'll be healthy. It does something. No, it doesn't. And the reason why somebody who tends to be healthier, who only limits their intake to one glass a day, shows an obeisance, shows a structured, ritualistic kind of health regimen that would lend itself in other pursuits as well. Does that make any sense to you? Good. That's it. Sparky says, I like Bobby Kennedy Jr. because the establishment hates him. Yes. I may not agree with him on everything, but he's flexible. I like Trump for the same reason. Sparky, by the way, thank you. Can I ask you something? Do you know anybody that you agree with all the time? So when somebody says, I may not agree with him, well, that doesn't even mean anything. Either way, we need this. And I am in an emergency situation. We got a patient who's bleeding to death, and I need a tourniquet. And the best thing you have is you have a belt. And that will do. In a hospital, we would use a tourniquet or something else. We only have a belt. So that will do. And there are some things that just kind of work out. And we don't have a choice anymore. Because this iteration of left, woke, whatever it is, it has to go. Period. And it has to be defeated at the polls. That simple. Now, my friends, I say something to you. For all the people in the world, for all the people, along with Mrs. L and others who have worked so hard to protect kids, to have this notion of pointing out child trafficking as being some kind of a conspiracy theory is such an abomination and such an insult. It's hard to even put into words. So this is her website, this is her YouTube channel. It is set for you just to click onto it and you will immediately subscribe. There are people, I've got news for you, and I'm going to say this only from my point of view. There are people who have jumped on the child trafficking, child predation bandwagon who are the worst thing that ever happened to any of it because they're crazy, they're glory-seeking, and they want to promote themselves. Many of them are women who want you to say, oh, they're hot. I know they will never say, oh, I am not. Yes, you do. Or they love virtue signaling, they feel righteous. Not everybody, but some. There are other people who remove everything to this thing called pedophile. Everything's pedophile. Pedophile. You don't understand. That's not what we're talking about. There are people in countries who just say, give me the money. kidnap anybody you... I don't care who these people are. Young, old, animals. Right? Just give me... We traffic in anything. Dope, drugs. But because it's sexual, even though predation, they focus on that. So this is Mrs. L's. Please subscribe to her channel, because the real reason why people do not like the subject of human trafficking of children, it's not because of any kind of conspiracy theory, but because the subject bothers them. And it's icky, and they also don't like the people who are involved. They look at Jim Caviezel as weird. Let me explain something. Jim Caviezel was on with this guy Sean Ryan or something, and they were talking. And I got to tell you, I'm thinking, look, they're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. But when some people talk about God can fight the devil, and the devil, you lose me right away. I'm thinking, if you're losing me, you're going to lose a lot of other people. That's a risk you take. There was a time when Alex Jones said things that were, oh my God, cashless society. You just name it. When he, oh my God, 20 years ago. Today, he looks like a guy on a corner with a cup. I don't know what happened. But it's not up to me to decide. Have you ever heard sometimes David Icke years ago said some things that were just really just so interesting? And I'm thinking to myself, you know the reptilian thing is only going to go so far. I'm just saying. People have a hard time on the reptilian. I'm just saying. So when you do this, recognize the fact. It's just like there are other people who, when you want to run for office, don't tell the world. And Jesus said in Galatians, no, because there are people who are maybe not Christian, maybe they're Jewish or they're Muslim or they're atheist or they're Buddhist. Why are you limiting this? Sparky says, when SSRIs got popular in the late 80s, Dad, a pharmacist, had patients return them saying that they caused them to have visions of killing people. Prozac was prescribed like candy in those days. You know, that could very, very well be in terms, and I don't dispute your story or anecdote. I got to tell you something. There was it's really weird about this. And Sparky, thank you. I had a lot of surgeries and stuff in my life. I had surgeries in my throat, my this, and my... Oh, my God. Don't ask me why. I would all of a sudden have... I'm fine now. And I remember the first time somebody gave me something that was a really good painkiller, a good opioid. I mean, nothing, serious. But a good, like, whoa, Vicodin, hey, this makes me feel... I feel warm and toasty. This is, whoa. I can understand how somebody can like this. For some reason, and I don't know why, but for some reason today I would say, I don't want that warm and toasty feeling. I don't want that. I don't want it. I want this. I want this real thing. I don't want that. And by the way, if you think going on a bunch of pain pills and getting constipated is your idea of a good time, you go ahead. You go ahead, my friend. You go ahead. I'm telling you, here's a subject I'm not going to go into any detail with. We have such not a regularity problem or irregularity, but an elimination problem in this country. More women that I know and have known my entire life, and I do not know why. I don't understand it. Maybe because of, I don't know. But if you do not avail yourself of the normal processes of life, you feel miserable. And when you feel miserable, you don't have a good quality life. You're not fun to be around. You're not good to your spouse or your kids. And it's something that nobody wants to talk about. Ever. We talk about things like, well, probiotic Well, what about that? Well, gut health. Well, it has fiber. Well, that's all I'll go. Well, I had a stomach virus. And, well, that's all I'm going to say. Well, what about it? Well, I'd rather not. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. At least Dad's customers had this self-awareness to return the Prozac. What if they didn't? Well, what if they didn't, by the way, Sparky, thank you. What if people that I know who say, well, if the doctor gave it to me, I must be helpful. I cannot tell you right now. You have no earthly idea how unhealthy this country is. And how people are just miserable. Because nobody's ever told you how to eat. Nobody. You have no idea. You're eating stuff that you probably have no earthly idea. And if somebody says light or natural, you say, okay. Processed food has destroyed everything there is. I've got a friend of mine who's so miserable. He's Italian American. And I said, you haven't eaten. I said, you've got refined pasta, refined bread, processed everything. He said, there is not a vegetable. There is nothing. Your body, your gut is turning into one ball of paste. And it's technically vegan, one could argue. There's no meat or anything like that. But there's nothing processed. Nothing. I mean, it's all processed. The whole thing. It's white bread, basically, and pasta. Good luck with that. Good luck with it. Transit time, baby. Transit time. Now, nobody wants to talk about that. No. Don't want to. La. Don't want to talk about that. Don't want to talk about child trafficking. We want to talk around things. Certain things. Last night we happened to catch a moment of what's that thing called? Same old story or last story told or what's that called?
Just like that.
And just like that. It is the last iteration of, I guess, Sex and the City. It is the most stupid thing I've ever seen. Their idea of sex and bodily functions are written by a 10-year-old with a behavioral problem. I mean it. Fixation over stuff that does not even matter. That's all. Doesn't even matter. That's all. So what I'm here to do is I'm going to talk to you about the truth. All right, dear friends. So Sparky, thank you. You have been a delight and a wonderful person. Also to Elegant Lynn's Bed and Breakfast, thank you. Elegant Lynn's, make us your second home. And don't forget also, our favorite is Lionel. Oh, Finn Gazinia, thank you, Finn. Lazy Lionel's Cafe and Bake Shop. Love that. So kind. Now, my friends, we're going to be back tomorrow. This evening, Mrs. L and I have a commitment. No, that's okay. Listen, I've done an hour and 17 minutes today. I love you, but this is tonight. My wife and I are spending some time together, and you can understand that. And I'm sure you can understand that. And we're going to do our thing together. And I suggest you do this. That's all I'm saying. That's all. Tomorrow we'll be back right at the beginning of this. Make sure you like the video. We have 240 likes. I need 300. We also need, by the way, you need to like this channel. You need to subscribe to it. And I also want to say something about our dear friends. I told you I got this thing before, which I think is funny. It's sad to see Bed Bath & Beyond. But our friends at MyPillow.com are still there. They still got their 4th of July special. They got their biggest bed sheet sale ever. They got the 4-pack My Bed 2.0. They got towels. They got My Coffee. The all-season slippers, as low as $25. What is this? Got to be a typographical error. The overstock sale. Sandals, plush blankets, beach blankets. It's coming. Towels and more. Mattress toppers, lounge wear, down blankets. Dear God. So make sure you use the MyPillow.com. Use that promo code Lionel. And support those people who hang in there. Because I love when people say, I'm going to do it my way. All right, friends. We've got a lot of great stuff coming. You are the best. I thank you. Please accept my thanks, my respect for you, my appreciation and my love for your kindness, your courtesy, but also your mind and your heart. Thank you for this. And don't forget to follow Mrs. L one more time right here. You go and you link up right away. You'll be so glad. Let her listen to what she will tell you news stories that others will call conspiratorial. Because she wants to help kids. Yeah, it's a conspiracy. Yeah, there is a conspiracy. It is a conspiracy theory. It's about the cartels. It's about deep and evil and horrible people around the world who are trafficking kids. It is a conspiracy. Absolutely. Conspiring, two or more evil people confederating to bring about something of a criminal nature. Yes, it's a conspiracy. Guilty as charged. All right, friends, have a great and glorious day. See you later. And remember this valedictory, and don't forget tomorrow morning we'll see you. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.